Hey guys, how's it going? It's your favorite yapper here. So I've been getting more into making these types of commentary videos and kind of trying to figure out a better way to voice my opinion other than shorts since they're, well, too short. And I just think I'm liking the long format better overall. So make sure to subscribe if you're into this type of content and if you like my opinion-based videos, I guess. Anyways, to get into the topic of today's video, with all that's been going on these last couple of days with the whole Sydney Sweeney release the files decoy, jeans controversy, I've been thinking about how exactly would that play out in Euphoria. Like, how does the show get around that? Which, to be fair, isn't really the best show in terms of consistency. The second season dropped and it was a completely different vibe from the first, which was, in my opinion, handled a bit better in almost every way. But yeah, I think this upcoming season is kind of set to fall under a weird place. Not only because they took like 100 years to release it, and most if not all of the main cast are in their late 20s to early 30s and can't pass up as high school kids anymore. Meaning a glaring time skip is pretty much imminent. But because they have been in production for a while now, so I think it's pretty safe to say they are soon to wrap up production if they haven't already done that. And now that the least obvious Hollywood maggot is out of the closet and doing eugenics dog whistle ads, it kind of puts Euphoria on a weird ignore and don't respond place. Because I don't know if you know this, guys, but my friends say that I am a bit of an empath, and I get this weird feeling that a show about a queer girl who suffers from drug addiction and has a girlfriend who is also a trans girl isn't necessarily the most aligned with conservative beliefs. So this whole thing kind of goes against possibly one of the more popular progressive, if we can call it that, shows. And I know they're just expecting the whole thing to die down, and that's it. That's probably the answer to this video. But I don't think current day audiences are as forgiving, especially in an era where companies and governments are wanting people to forget things quickly and move on. It seems that in turn, people are doing the opposite and they don't let up. If you go to the comments on their official Instagram page, people are calling for the production to actually fire Sydney. And honestly, I don't blame them. If, like I say, everything about Euphoria lies within a very one-sided worldview.
You can pause and read them all. But one of the comments, for example, said, "The Euphoria production needs to understand that keeping this actress in season 3 no longer makes sense. She doesn't represent the show, its values, or its audience anymore. Her impact is in the past. Now she only tarnishes what Euphoria has built. Remove her while there's still time." And another said, "If Sydney's in it, I'm not watching. She's the exact opposite of what this entire show stands for." So while I was thinking about making this video, I decided to lurk the Euphoria subreddit to see what people thought, and I found this video of the cast hanging out. Hunter Schafer, Maud Apatow, and Sydney Sweeney last night in Los Angeles. And the parasocial side of me found this pretty interesting. I mean, the cast probably already knew where she stood on many social issues. And I say this just because I think if you get to know someone on a personal level in the slightest, you kinda know where they fall on many of these issues, or at least can pretty much make an assumption. This, in turn, makes it even more confusing, like these people commented. I wonder how Hunter feels about her in general. Not Hunter hanging out with Sydney knowing she voted for the guy who won't recognize her as a woman. That's honestly a good point. She made a whole post earlier this year about how she was upset that with the new administration, they changed her status on her passport as male, even if she already had female listed in her previous passport. When all your friends are Democrats and you're just there like, LOL, fuck Sydney Sweeney. And some people even speculated, I'm just saying, if I was her management team and wanted to stop the MAGA issues, I'd be trying to orchestrate a lot of candid outings with Hunter to play the friends on both sides of the aisle narrative. Don't address the rumors, just let the close friendship narrative with people who have no public MAGA leanings smooth things out. So now I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about the character of Cassie Howard in Euphoria and how it's kind of left in a weird place now. I think the character of Cassie in Euphoria and her changes from one season to another is a pretty interesting study of how a completely creative approach towards a character can fundamentally change it so much to the point where it almost becomes unrecognizable from how it was previously established. In the first season, I think Cassie was one of the more grounded characters in this whirlwind of so many different characters that cover so many topics. And sure, in the beginning, she also had her flaws, but there was a relatability to her. She was insecure, she struggled with self-worth, and her relationships were messy, but in a way that felt painfully human. And to throw her a bone, I think Sydney Sweeney played her with a good amount of subtlety. Even in the more outrageous scenes, Cassie felt like a real person.
And most importantly, it felt coherent.
But by season 2, that coherence largely vanished.
The writing exaggerated her weaknesses to such a degree that she no longer felt like a fully realized person, but a narrative device for chaos. I felt like they just kind of took her worst traits and flaterized them to build more drama. Cassie's need for validation became her entire personality.
I do not care. I have never, ever been happier.
Her story with Nate Jacobs crossed the line from believable poor decision-making into implausible obsession. She wakes at dawn to style herself for a man who, within the show's own logic, offers her nothing but manipulation and humiliation. And honestly, this could have worked to portray a mechanism of regression from, what she went through in the last season. But it isn't even acknowledged. This shift didn't just hurt Cassie's believability. It disrupted the character dynamics the show had carefully built. In season 1, her loyalty to Maddie, despite flaws, was a core part of her identity. Season 2 tosses that aside almost instantly for the sake of a high-shock betrayal. It's not that characters can't betray each other. In good drama, they often do. But here it felt more like a writer's room decision aimed at producing viral moments than a natural evolution of the character. And that's my problem, I think, with Sam Levinson's writing. It kind of devolved into writing segues into shocking scenes. And it was its worst in The Idol.
Let me catch you looking at her again. I'm sorry, I'm not catch you looking at her again. I'll drag you down Rodeo while your ass just stomp you. I'll curb stomp you. I'm sorry. I'll curb stomp you.
And it's like a...
So this kind of leaves me a bit skeptical about how good the story for season 3 will be, on top of everything else.
Because the problem now is narrative positioning. Season 2 left Cassie alienated from her friends, humiliated publicly, and stripped of most sympathetic traits. Season 3 will either have to rehabilitate her through genuine growth, which means slowing her story down, giving her consequences, and making her earn trust back, or continue down the path of turning her into a source of comic relief, a meltdown machine for audience entertainment.
I have never, ever been happier.
But even then, a chunk of the progressive audience no longer aligns with the actress herself. So, whichever route the writers choose, there's a growing sense that people are already tapped out on Cassie as a whole. And if they choose the latter, they risk flattening one of the few characters who originally balanced Euphoria's excess with some emotional authenticity. And once that authenticity is gone for good, the character's future in the story becomes decorative at best, something to move other people's plots along rather than carrying her own. So, yeah, season 3 will either try to disguise these gaps with more shocking moments, or slow things down and get personal. The problem is, Euphoria hasn't really shown it can slow down anymore. And culturally, the enthusiasm around the show just isn't what it was during seasons 1 and 2. The progressive audiences that once defended every messy character are now more willing to disengage, especially when the actors themselves fall out of alignment with their values. So even if Levinson tries to give Cassie a redemption arc or a carefully crafted meltdown, a lot of people have already checked out. That's why, as much as HBO will market this as an event season, I think it's going to feel disjointed, uneven, and in moments, it might feel as, if not more, hollow than the previous season. Not because the talent isn't there, but because the conditions around it are too fractured to produce something cohesive. So yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much all I wanted to get off my chest about Euphoria and where it's heading. Season 3 has every chance to be interesting, but between the behind-the-scenes drama, the character shifts, and the cultural baggage, it's hard to imagine it feeling like the same show we all got hooked on. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you still genuinely excited for this next season? Or do you feel like the magic's already gone? And if you made it this far, a like or a subscribe would be huge. Also, make sure to watch my latest videos. I talked about why I think the final season of Stranger Things will fail. So if you're interested in that, give it a watch. That's it. See you in the next one.
it's kind of, it's like a